Hi everyone, welcome to the new series. It's Artistic Author, obviously, unless someone hacked my video. And this is my character, Deyanira Raven Alexander, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about her story and about her world. And I really hope you enjoy it. This video took me 3 hours, this portrait rather, and it honestly turned out so good. I loved the way her skin tone turned out. I really liked how the frame of her portrait turned out. And I have 12 minutes to talk to, so bear with me. But she turned out really well, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. If you do want something like this, I do commissions, and contact me at the email down below, and I'd be happy to return that email. But either way, this is Deyanira Raven Alexander, and I made her about when I was 13, and I made her because I wanted a story where the villain was the main character. I wanted to be reading from the villain's perspective, and I thought that would just be so cool that no one has really done that before, and you'd be able to understand the villain's motives and why they were doing what they were doing in the first place. Now, that did change because it was a little corny because she was going to a villaining school and then she was going to be paired up with a guy who was going to a heroing school, and it was just really kind of a childish idea for a story. I was 13 at the time. And so now she goes to a magic school, and you're going to be like, oh no, Tori, magic, Harry Potter, why'd you steal Harry Potter? No, I wasn't even allowed to watch Harry Potter until I was about 15, so hold your horses. I did not steal Harry Potter, I just have some story with magic in it. That's all that I have. Anyway, she goes to a magicking school, but first, let me tell you about the world. This is set in future Earth, about 2040, I think. Either 2040, yeah, 2040. And at this point, humans have discovered that there are other races. And these other races include dragonoids, which are people with wings and they have elemental powers, and telepathians. And telepathians have, like, electricity instead of a blood, instead of life force. The electricity is their life force, rather. And they, like, you can plug them into things and they will charge things. But they only have a certain amount, like, they know when they're gonna die based on how much power they have in them. And they are used as a human battery most of the time within the human realm. Anyway, the humans found out about these other races, and they decided, hey, we need to control them before they attack us, because there's no way we're going to be able to defeat them, because we are not stronger than these people with abilities. Now, Deyanira is a half-breed. She's half human, and she's half keeper, which is a third race, which doesn't really have a name, but they're called keeper for sake of simplicity. And the keepers basically contain all of the knowledge of the universe, sort of. The important stuff that they can't let other people get their hands on, like the knowledge of immortality and stuff. Now, there is two versions of a keeper. Type A is they look human and they have this sort of crystal sort of power. So they can create things that look like clear crystals, like platforms, balls, you name it. And they only have a certain amount of that, and it either takes their energy or it affects their body on what they use on that. Sorry. And the second type is Deyanira. And they just have magic, and they have oddly colored hair and eyes. Now the eyes match their blood. So Deyanira's eyes are bright red, even though you can't see that, and her hair is purple. You'll see that later. But Deyanira actually originally had glowing red skin, but I changed that because that wasn't gonna work. But the outsiders, the people who aren't human, have to hide at this point because the humans are obviously coming after them. And Deyanira has to try to fit in. So she pretends that she has contacts in and pretends that her hair being purple is just dyed and she goes on to villaining school because her father is a evil overlord type. He secretly owns a couple governments and, just in general, evil guy. But he loves his daughter, and her mother actually died a couple years after she was born. Now, the reason Deyanira is even alive is because keepers are having a hard time reproducing on their own within their own race, but that's not quite as important. It's just how she came to be. And Deyanira is going to go to magic school to learn how to control magic. Now, in this world, in this version of Earth, there's two types of magic. The first type is faith magic, where it's like you have faith in God and you are able to do things, because there's this verse where it's like, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. So there's that magic, and then the second magic, which is basically like demon magic. Anyway, that's the magic that Deyanira uses. And so the story begins when Deyanira is 16. And this is her birthday, and you meet her, you're kind of introduced to the world, whatever. And then you get to September, because her birthday's in December, and then the next year around she's going to be going to school. And she gets to school, and a lot of stuff happens, but just to tell you the main plot, she meets this boy named Darian, and she's immediately enamored by Darian, and I will show you or do a drawing of him later. But she's enamored by him, and he's really interesting. And there's this other guy named Spencer. And Spencer is just really, really awful guy. And he is interested in outsiders. Now, at this point in the world, it is not legal quite yet to have outsiders as slaves. Outsiders being dragonoids, telepathians, keepers, what have you. Anyone who's not human. And it's not legal yet. But it is, highly debated whether or not they have human rights because they're not human. Now, he already has this one girl, Suno, and she's a snow dragonoid. And he has her, locked away and has her as his slave, and she's 8 years old or something. Anyway, and he figures out that Deyanira isn't human. So he goes ahead and tries to kidnap her and does have her for a little while, but Darian comes and saves her. And since he saves her, she owes him one. Now, this seems fine and all to her because she really likes him, and he seems to like her back. So he, is like, you can help me find the elements of reality. Now, I'm not going to be able to get through the whole entire plot here, but that's okay. I have a couple more character drawings that will really change it up, because if you know who they are, then the whole plot gets thicker and thicker. Now, okay, so the elements of reality, this is quite a long story. There's 4 pieces. There's the lantern, which represents life. There is a necklace with the diamond on the end that represents transformation, a sword that represents power, and a book that represents imagination or fantasy. And if you put them all together, you can control reality. Now, that's the scary bit. You can't control the reality. You can shape it to however you want. And Darian wants to get his hands on these. And Deyanira is a really, really talented magician. She doesn't quite even know how good she is, and I know it's super lame and cliche to have them be powerful, but she doesn't quite know how good she is. And Darian wants to use her abilities to try to get him a kind of easier way to the elements of reality. So he agrees to go on dates with her, and does go on dates with her, and in return, every once in a while, she'll help him with finding the elements of reality and retrieving them. Now, after the first one, they get it. They have the necklace, they have the element of reality that represents transformation. And after that one, they go for a second one, but then they botch it. They didn't end up getting it. And Darian blames Deyanira, and says, you better be able to find this, blah blah blah, you lost it, because after they botched it, it transported to a different location, and he was telling her that she needs to find it because this is her fault. Now, Deyanira is low-key terrified of him, and her best friend, Mag, I think she'll be next. I'll do Mag next and tell you her story. Mag is trying to warn her that Darian doesn't seem to be quite human. And Deyanira doesn't listen to her at first, but he's starting to get really scary. So she's starting to listen, like she's starting to be a little terrified. And she's looking for the way to find it, and she's scared that he's gonna kill Mag because he's already threatened to kill her father, and it's just really terrifying for her, and she can't figure out how to get out of this mess. But before this whole thing happened, they had gone on some dates, and they were really pleasant dates. And she was holding on to this idea that he had to be a good guy, that he had to have a soft spot for her or something, at least underneath that there had to be some part of him that could change. And she was just hanging on to that. But this is the end of the video, and that is all you're gonna get today. So, I'll see you guys next time. Alright? Alright. Bye!